there, Grateful Gang. It's Lauren here, the Gratitude Addict of Attitude of Gratitude with Chronic Pain. Welcome to my weekly live broadcast. This is called Gratefully Living the Chronic Life. And each week I come to you with an expert guest who talks to us about gratitude, resilience, coping, ways to live our best life despite our struggles. My main work is through my Facebook community, which is called Attitude of Gratitude with Chronic Pain. Many of you are watching from in here. If you are watching from inside the group, hello, thank you for being here. Make sure you give StreamYard permission to use your name and photo. And you can do that by, let's see, where is it? When you log in, you should have seen StreamYard.com/Facebook. Make sure you click on that, grant them permission, and then your comments will show up with your face and name because we want to know who is here. We do welcome an interactive broadcast. Please feel free to comment with questions. I have an amazing guest tonight, a fellow gratitude spreader who I met on LinkedIn. My stalking lately has been a lot on LinkedIn. Alon Joseph is a very passionate gratitude spreader like myself. It's about 3:00 in the morning his time because he's from, well, I'll let him tell you where he's from. But before I bring him on, I just want to thank a couple of people. Carrie Howells, Dr. Carrie Howells from last week was on talking about her incredible book, Untangling You, How Can I Feel Grateful When I Feel So Resentful? It was an incredibly powerful hour, particularly, well, for everybody, for those of us living with chronic pain and illness, to look at resentments and their role in our gratitude levels was very eye-opening. She published on her blog an article today about partially about the group, but about chronic pain, resentment, and gratitude. If you can go to carriehowells.com, you can see that. And let me just show you who's coming up in the next couple of weeks. We have, here's the StreamYard thing. So your pop-up thing when you log into StreamYard should look like this, and then you click on this guy and you should have permission. So next week, Amy Flores Young's going to be here. This is going to be a very unique episode. She is a concierge travel planner. And we're going to talk about how experiences are known to, you're more grateful for experiences over stuff, over material things. She is a travel agent that specializes in helping people living with chronic pain, illness, disability. Her daughter is disabled. So before you say, I can't travel, and I know with COVID now it's a little difficult, you want to watch this episode because what she does is quite amazing. So I'm excited for her to be on. The following week, AJ Jacobs is going to be on. He wrote this amazing book and TED Talk called Thanks 1,000, where he goes through and thanks everybody for the cup of coffee that is in his hand. It's quite special. Here's the book here. Great little book and awesome TED Talk. So he's going to be here on February 17th. And then finally, I didn't know this was happening. I actually kind of found it. Let me get rid of this. Kind of found it on my own, but look what popped up on Amazon this week. Boom. My new book is on pre-sale. The 52-Week Intention Journal. It's coming out March 29th. I am so excited for this book. As much as I was excited and still am for the 5-Minute Gratitude Journal for teen boys, and gratitude is, of course, my specialty. The 52-Week Intention Journal offers 52 weeks of all of the tips, tools, strategies that I use in my life that I took from rock bottom 9 years ago to today. It's about living a life that you are excited about, that makes you excited to wake up in the morning, that I say sets your soul on fire. So so that's coming out. They didn't tell me, I just found it on Amazon. So it's kind of exciting. Let's see. Let me bring on our guest because Alon Joseph here, where is he? There he is. Hello, Alon.
Hello.
Thank you for being here. Where are you from? Tell everybody where you're from.
I am from Johannesburg, South Africa, all the way at the bottom of the globe.
We actually, in Attitude of Gratitude with Chronic Pain, recently we have gotten so many people from South Africa. It's amazing. It's truly amazing. I don't know if we're showing up in the algorithm or something, but it's fantastic. So thank you for being here at this special time. I did offer to tweak the time like I do for other people overseas, and you're like, no, I want to do it this time. So thank you for being here.
It's my pleasure. It's quiet. It's peaceful. Most of my country's asleep.
Let's get to some comments so I don't get behind. Pamela Creighton's here. Hello. Thank you for being here. Linda Canalicchio. Hello. Thank you for being here. Oh, look, we've got everybody signing in tonight. That's great. Hi, Linda. Thanks for being here. Eva's here. Hello. Sandy's here. Welcome. Thank you for coming. That's meant for you, not me, because I've got to be here. Congrats on the release of your second book. Thank you very much. Jill Cook's here. Hey, you signed in tonight, Jill. It's awesome. Thank you, Linda. Thank you. Thank you. I'm actually not even supposed to be announcing the book yet because I've got like a marketing thing. But I couldn't help it. So yeah, I'm not sharing the link yet, but I just wanted to show you guys the picture. And Mary Bendel, welcome Alon. Thank you for being here. So thank you guys all for being here live. Our live audience really makes things fun and raw and authentic. And I'm a tech klutz, so these guys are with me every week, so they know the deal. So Alon, tell us about you. What do you do? How did you get into gratitude?
That's a good question. So about me, so I run a company. I've been running a company for about 12, 13 years called Live Your Part. And my partner runs quite a big company. And in about 2008, we were looking at saying, how do we increase staff engagement? How do we make staff happy? How do you get your staff to be motivated and excited? And we started looking at different things, and we realized that companies that have a high staff engagement had really strong cultures. So we're like, wow, you got to have a good culture. And the more we started looking, we realized, well, hold on a sec, what drives culture is values. So we started looking at values, and we said, you've got to have good values to create good culture to help your staff. So then we started wondering, which are the best values that are really going to help people? Because what we wanted to do was really use business as a vehicle to help people achieve success in their own lives and find success not only in business, but to be happy. So to come to work and actually be happy at work. Why would you want to come and spend 8-9 hours a day being miserable? That doesn't make any sense. You want people to be happy. So we wanted to work out, how do you make people happy? So we started playing around with different values. And after about, probably about 2.5, 3 years, we found there were 2 values that really drove people in the most incredible ways. And the one was the value of you. When a person looks at themselves and you say, wow, my life is actually about me. If I want something in life, I've got to make it happen. No one is going to do it for me. If I'm not going to take responsibility for my own life, then I can't blame my work or my boss or my colleagues. It's actually me. I've got to take control. And having that value and realizing that, wow, I've got to do this was an amazing thing. And then we came across the second value. And I guess that's what leads us to why we're here tonight. Or this morning. That was the value of gratitude. And when we started bringing gratitude into business, the results that we started experiencing were just mind-blowing, to put it simply like that. People's lives literally started changing. And what we realized is that what we were doing at work, that people were taking it home with them. And they were changing their lives at home. And we were like, we're onto something over here. So then we started working much more with gratitude. And we started seeing, well, how do we actually utilize this and how do we make this part of people's lives? And because I focused so much on it, when I'd walk into a company, people go, oh, there's Mr. Gratitude, right? Not there's Alon, or like, oh, it's like, no, there's Mr. Gratitude or the gratitude dude, whatever it was. But that's how people came to associate me.
That's a great thing to be known as, for sure.
Yeah, I was like, whoa, that's great, Yep. I'm going to get bumper stickers made, Mr. But that's, and we started realizing that people's lives started to change at work and at home just by bringing gratitude and by making it practical, by having a daily routine, by getting them to realize, wow, I am so blessed. Yeah, and we know the power of gratitude and how it changes perception and how it creates different realities. And when you think about a business, you don't often think that business can be having gratitude in it. So then we started something else. We thought, what else could you do with gratitude in business? So we realized you can keep it internal, but you can also take it external. So we started playing around with, well, how often have you thanked your customers? How often do you take time to say to them, thank you for your loyalty, thank you for your service? And we shared it with the staff, and it was the most incredible thing. We had one staff member who decided, this is an amazing thing. So he started handwriting notes to be, and it was in like a shipping business, and he would put these notes before sealing the boxes. He would slip these notes in the boxes. So the CEO called me up one day and he says, you got to come in. So I went in and he says to me, he says, you'll never believe. He says, I keep on getting these messages from customers saying, wow, you guys are amazing. And it's incredible. And I was like, what are you on about? And he started showing me these notes. So we called the guy in. And his name was
What did
Peter.
the notes say on them?
So I'm coming. Whoa,
okay.
Story. I'm coming.
Squashing your story.
Exactly. So we brought them in, and we said, what do you think? He says, no. He says, I was thinking about what you said to us. And I thought to myself, you know what? I got to thank these people who are buying from us, are giving me the ability to support my family, are giving, have given me a job. So he said, I wanted to start thanking them. So he started handwriting these notes saying, thank you so much for ordering this product from us. You've given me the ability to support my family, and I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. And it was just like that. And he just used to write 30, 40, 50 these notes and just slip them in. And when people opened it up, they said when they open up the box, you're never expecting this handwritten note. And they were like, wow, they were blown away by it.
That can change somebody's day. That can totally change the course of somebody's day if they open up something and they get a note like that. It can change, take you from operating on autopilot to all of a sudden feeling, getting a smile on your face. That's fantastic.
So we realized there's so much more you can do with gratitude. Gratitude is so powerful, and are we spreading it enough? Are we focusing on it enough to really make it meaningful and impactful on other people's lives?
Right.
And gratitude is not only something we keep at home or we do with our friends. The more you can impact people, and it was amazing how businesses' culture started to change so quickly when they started bringing gratitude into their workplace. And what we realized was a knock-on effect that I had not realized. And only when I started doing feedback sessions with people that I realized how much we were changing people's lives. And people were saying to us, I was depressed. I was going through such a hard time in life. I wasn't sharing it with people at work because I didn't want them to know what I was going through. But they kept on telling us the same thing again and again and again, saying, gratitude helped me get through the dark times. The gratitude that we had at work gave me the ability to see the positivity in life and just gave me that mindset to focus on the good things and really helped me through these dark times. And we realized, wow, business can actually be a vehicle to touch people's lives in such powerful ways. If the CEO or management of a business would embrace something like this, imagine the impact that you can have on your staff. Imagine the impact you can have on their families.
And they'll be more productive when they're happy, right? They'll be better employees.
100%.
Yep.
What we realized is that their lives started to change. And we were like, wow, we're onto something over here. That everyone is, at the end of the day, everyone is a human being. Everyone has those emotions. Right. But you never know what someone else is going through.
No.
And sometimes in a business setting, they're not going to share it with you. But people are there the whole day. It's a captive audience. And are you?
Uh-oh, you're frozen. Uh-oh.
Am I back?
You're back.
I don't know what happened there. Yeah. For me, and our tagline for Live Your Part was all about helping people become role models and change the world around them. That's what we want to change the world. And, it was about saying to myself, how do I change the world? Well, I've got two avenues. Either I can go out there and I can start promoting myself to the general population and hopefully I'm going to get successful somewhere along the line. I thought to myself, hold on a sec, business is a captive audience. People are there, they're not going anywhere, right? If I can get into business and I can help people in a business setting, we can be so much more powerful, because you can get to the individual, you can get to their families, you can get to society so much quicker. So that's
It's
why I
like a
thought to
ripple
myself,
effect, isn't it? So you get them at work where they're there 8, 10 hours a day or whatever, at least in the United States anyway. You're right, captive audience, and then it'll trickle down to their home life, right? And then when it trickles down to home life, it trickles out in the world for sure.
and that's exactly what happened. People telling us, no, I took gratitude. We have this thing called the gratitude game, where people go around and they share what they're grateful for in that day. And we brought it into business, and they start their day off with having a gratitude session. And then what happens is that they were taking that home with them, and they said, I brought it home, and would sit down as a family and start playing this gratitude game with each other. And they were putting gratitude signs around their house. And they were starting to shift their whole mindset and their whole house towards gratitude. And it was like, wow, that's incredible. And these were things that we weren't expecting to happen. But the more we realized they were happening, the more, and that's why I loved your new book, because the more intentional we started becoming to implement gratitude. It wasn't just like trying to shoot in the dark. We actually started sitting down and saying, what's our strategy around this? How do we become more intentional to bring gratitude into people's lives? And that changed the whole direction, because, as I'm sure you can share, that when you're more intentional about something and it's top of mind and you're thinking about it, the impact is so much greater.
It sure is. Absolutely. They feed off of each other, intention and gratitude. They really do. And you have to be present in the moment to feel true gratitude. And that's what intention is, being awake. We often go through life with such a, you know, we're on autopilot and very mindless, and learning how to be more mindful, what you're talking about, that's beautiful. What a beautiful concept. Are companies really taking a liking to what you're doing? I would imagine so.
We've been very blessed.
Great.
I'm very grateful. What can I say? And it is because when they see the power of it, and they see how their staff's lives start to change and how they become happier, they're like, this is like a magic pill. How did you do that? And I'm like, it's not magic. It's quite simple. It's just human nature. When you treat people as human beings and you touch very deep parts of them, it's amazing what happens.
Yeah.
And I've never seen a value work as quickly and as powerfully as gratitude.
So true. So true. And it's so, like you said, it's so simple. It's not always easy. There's on some days it's really difficult to dig for your gratitude, but it's so simple. And the whole concept of what you're talking about makes so much sense. And it's kind of funny that it's really just kind of coming to light recently, within the past couple of years, because it seems like such a no-brainer. You make your employees happy, they work harder, transfers to home. I mean, it's a win-win-win all the way around. It's fantastic.
Yeah, that's why I could never understand. I was like, why are more people not doing this? Like, this is such a simple way of changing your company and changing people's lives. Why would you not do this? And it still baffles me how you get people are like, nah, that's not for me. That's like, that's not business. That's the soft side of life. Business is hard. You've got to just push and you got to just make it work and you got to go through it. I'm like, no, that's ridiculous.
That's what a lot of people that live with chronic pain, would say that gratitude can't possibly help chronic pain, because they're not really thinking about what true gratitude is, which is much, much more than just saying, today I'm grateful for my cat. And oh gosh, nothing happened. It didn't work. It's a very intentional, like you said, practice that you have to implement into your day and change that negative bias that's, innate in us to the positive. Jill Cook has a comment here: the power of enough. When we have enough, we are inspired to help others. The ripple effect. Absolutely.
Yeah,
So when
I
a
love
company
that.
hires you, I'm sure it depends on the company, but how do you go about doing what you do? What are first steps, and then what do you do with the employees?
So, I mean, our whole approach is really about making something, when we talked about values, a lot of companies, when, I've often asked people, what are the values of your company? And they're like, that's a good question. I know we've got them, but I'm not quite sure what they are. So our whole approach was that you don't want something that's on the wall. You want something that people live. So it was very, very important for us to make something that was practical, powerful, and sustainable. Because without that, it's not going to work. And the most important thing, and I think this is why we're having it now by your book, because you got to be intentional. If you're not intentional about what you want your values to be, it's not going to work. I was sitting with a new client last week. We were doing a brainstorming session with the management. And I asked them, I said, what values do you think, if you look at your employees, what values do you want them to have? Like, what's your ideal employee? And they were like, never really thought about it. So we did a whole brainstorming session, and I said, well, if you could pick, if you close your eyes and you picture your most perfect employee and the attitude and the behaviors that they have, tell me about that person. And when we break that down, it's all about values drive behavior, because you want to change people's behavior and you want to move them in a more positive way. So your values are meant to drive behaviors, but they also have to create a change in mindset, because if you're not helping people change their mindset, then it's not going to work. If you've got a person who's just totally negative and you're not helping them shift their mindset, no matter how good your values are, it's not going to work.
That's right.
So you've got to have behaviors, but you also have to help people create those behaviors. So we started developing a program and looking at how do we make values practical, intentional. And that's when it became exciting, because when people are thinking about their values the whole time, it should be something that you're making decisions on. It should be something that companies are looking at and saying, okay, every decision is based on our values. And what's the behavior that we want from our staff? What's the behavior we want from ourselves? How are we living this authentic life? And that's why we brought gratitude into it, because what I found was that gratitude created one of the biggest shifts. And as soon as you create a little bit of a shift in someone's life, then they're open to so many more possibilities. And gratitude created that biggest shift in a person's mindset, because it just helped them focus. We live in a world where we are surrounded by negativity. Yes. You look at the media, you look at the news. I stopped looking at news. I stopped reading all news. I stopped listening to the news, because I said to myself, why am I exposing myself to such negativity?
Right.
There's something, if there's something that's really important for me to know, I'll hear about it and I'll know about it. I don't have to actively go and expose myself to such negativity.
That's such a good point. It's like we're ripping our skin open and, we're like a raw nerve soaking this stuff in. And especially, first thing in the morning is when I used to watch the news, and it's like a raw nerve. What are you doing to yourself at the start of the day?
Yeah. And then you wonder why, like, you get to work and you're like, yeah, and you're not productive, and you're thinking, world war is coming.
Very little happy news, not in the United States. Or if there is happy news, they just don't put it on television, Yeah.
And I'm not saying that it's not important to know what's happening, but to wake up in the morning and the first thing you do is put the news on, it's like death and gloom, and you're wondering, wow. And then you're going to go out there and say, wow, it's going to be a beautiful day. I'm so excited. There's a war coming. Yay. Right? It's not going to happen.
Right.
So our whole focus was about saying to people, have intention. Don't just get into that cycle. Focus on what you want. What type of day do you want to have? Wake up with intention. Wake up and say to yourself, the first thing you do when you wake up is ask yourself, what are you grateful for and why? And that question, I must tell you, when you mentioned that before, it's not just asking yourself, what are you grateful for? It's about, why are you grateful for that?
Right.
And that drives, now your mind has to think.
Yeah, that should be an automatic secondary follow-up to that, shouldn't it? Right.
Because that's, and then, as we said, so what we started doing is that making gratitude intentional, letting people first thing in the morning walk in and start focusing on that gratitude was such a powerful thing for them, because now what you've done is that you've brought positivity into their mind. You've helped them focus on the good. their chances of being successful throughout the day are so much greater.
Yep.
So we started to notice that don't expose them to negativity. Stop, don't just, there's enough around you without you having to expose yourself to it. Take that step back and choose what you want to see, choose what you want to focus on. And that's what we were hoping people to do, is to be more intentional with their values, but more intentional specifically with gratitude, because that created positivity. And like you said, no matter what a person's going through, I saw a beautiful quote the other day that said, you've survived 100% of your bad days.
Yeah, I love that quote. It's so
right?
true.
And then you think about it, that's a pretty good statistic.
Yeah.
Right? That's pretty amazing that you've survived 100. Now, do you stop and think about that and say, wow, I'm alive? I don't know how they worked this out, but I once saw that it said that something like 135,000 people die every night. I mean, I don't know how they worked that out. I don't know how they, I'd love to know how they got to that number. Yeah. But if you think about it, you wake up in the morning, you're like, whoa, woohoo, I'm alive. I'm not one of those statistics.
Those of us living with chronic pain, we pretty much don't do that, but we should. I know we should. We're more like, ooh.
Yeah, you wake up, oh, right. But and even though it's true, and you wake up with those pains, the reality is you're alive.
Yep, absolutely.
And if you're alive, you can do something.
Yes.
You can achieve something.
You're right.
You have the ability to go out there and make a difference.
So every morning in my in attitude of gratitude with chronic pain, and I know you've been a member for a little while, but every morning I post what we call a daily intention post, and I put what national days are that day, and they're usually silly things like National Oreo. Oh, I meant to mention this. Today is National Optimist Day. I don't know if you saw that on. So, and you're a perfect person to have on. Now that you guys have seen him for the last 30 minutes, you understand why I was so excited to have him on, because he's just about as enthusiastic about gratitude as I am. I love talking to you. But so anyway, so today is National Optimist Day. So I list what reasons we have to celebrate, and then I usually say, but we have, even if there weren't national days, we have reason to celebrate. And then we set our daily intentions. It's optional, of course, but I call it a loose roadmap to help us kind of guide our day, but less strict than goals, because goals are, especially if you've got a chronic condition, your condition can change a lot. So having a goal that you may not make is just a setup for resentment. I'll have to call Dr. Carrie Howells from last week on resentments, but intentions are a little looser. So so we do that, but setting, I do that early. I posted at 5 o'clock in the morning, my time, to try to get people start their day on a positive, like you were saying. You're very right with what we expose ourselves to. Jill said, not on the wall, something you live. Not sure.
Yeah.
That is growth mindset. Absolutely. And we have a Facebook user saying, hello. Thank you, everybody, for being here. If you joined us late, we've got Alon Joseph here from liveyourpart.com. He is a gratitude coach. He goes into companies and helps create and foster a gratitude culture. And it's about 4 o'clock in the morning, his time. So he is joining us from South Africa. So we thank him for being here. So how have things changed? Have you noticed a shift since COVID started over the past 2 years in what you do?
Yeah, it was amazing, right? I started from the beginning. It was so interesting when we when this whole thing hit. There was like lockdown, and like the world was shutting down, and I decided that we have to become much more intentional about our gratitude and what we're doing with people. And I started designing a program to really help people while they were at home and while we're in this lockdown and things are happening around us and businesses are closing and people's lives, and like. It was almost like an Armageddon. We're like, wow, we don't know what's going to happen next, and that uncertainty.
Right.
And I was looking and saying, well, how do we anchor people? What tools can we give people to help them to become more successful? And I was like, we have the answer. We know what the answer is. Just help people with gratitude. And we started running a lot more gratitude workshops. We started becoming much more intentional by bringing gratitude into people's lives and saying to them, Now more than ever, you've got to focus on gratitude. Now more than
Right.
ever, you've got to be more intentional. And again, that feedback from people was like, they used to spend 5 to 10 minutes a day just being conscious about gratitude and writing down the things that they're grateful for, sharing with people, journaling, sharing with people, just becoming and saying, well, there's a lesson I've got to learn from this. And what's the lesson? Maybe it's appreciating people more in my life. Maybe I've neglected certain relationships. And now with this pandemic, maybe it's helped me refocus on those things. And getting to people and asking them, what good do you see in this situation? When the world was promoting so much negativity, I was there and I was saying to people, but what's the positive? What are you focusing on? Life is a choice, and you've got to choose how you want to live.
Right.
Are you going to live positive, or are you going to lose negative? The situation's not going to change. The pandemic is the reality. How I'm going to live through that, that's my choice.
That's the key. You're right. It's coming to that place of acceptance and realizing that we don't have control over certain things, and you can ride the wave or you can let it crash on you. You're right. We do have a choice. We talk about that, with chronic pain as well, that we have to accept it. We don't have to like it, but in order to move forward, we do have to accept it. We can't change what's going on with the pandemic. So but we can change our mindset towards it. Exactly.
And as you're saying, once you accept it, the acceptance is a huge thing, because if you're going to fight that, your mind is spending so much energy trying to fight the acceptance that it's actually not focusing on the future, because it's just holding you down. It's like this massive anchor just pulling you down, and you wake up, and it's that negative spiral that just keeps on pulling you down.
That's a great point.
And then you wonder, like, wow, this is horrible. And we know the research behind it, that a more positive person has a healthier internal body.
Yep.
The more positive your mind is, the healthier your body becomes. So if you want to fight certain things, you've got to use with what you've got. And your mind is the most powerful tool, because that's going to either help your immune system or destroy it. The more negative we are, we know it affects our body. We know it physically affects us. So if we know that, why aren't we utilizing that as another tool to help us?
Because negativity is easier. We default to the negative. It's more work to put in that gratitude practice, but the payoff is so worth it. But eventually you can rewire your brain, right? You know this. You can rewire your brain where it's not quite as difficult. But once you get into that negative spiral you were talking about, it's kind of tough to get out of it. You're just feeding on yourself, right?
And that's what we found with gratitude, like that gratitude in the workplace. That's what we found with people's lives, is that they were going through these hardships, but we were giving them the tools to be able to help them deal with it. And like the businesses were like, that's actually incredible. We never thought of, it's like, well, we've got a psychologist and you can go time, or you've got a coach, but they could actually just implement such little things that would have huge impact on their staff, that would have a huge measurable impact to actually help them through life. And when the CEOs of these companies, when their focus is really about their staff, then it's amazing what happens to those people. Their lives change, and as we're saying, it's about, what we promote is that I get people to write out like as many things as they can about what they're grateful for, and to stick it up in front of them. So at work, you lift your head up and the first thing you see is this list of things you're grateful for. So you have a bad phone call with a client, or something doesn't go the way you want it. You look up and the first thing you see is, okay, there's still a lot to be, this might not have been the way I wanted it, but there's still a lot to be grateful for. And that will motivate me to be able to focus and say, I can get through this.
That's a great thing. What a great idea. You're right. Sandy Montgomery says the harder it is to be grateful, the more important gratitude becomes. Absolutely.
Yeah. And it doesn't end with that, actually, Sandy, because what happens is that the harder it is to be grateful, the more important it becomes, the bigger impact it has on you. because
Absolutely.
when it's hard and you focus on that gratitude, your body goes through this massive shift of saying, whoa, not negative, positive, woohoo. And it's like it gives this body your massive energy boost. It gives your body this massive push of just like these great endorphins, and it just invigorates your body. It's like giving your body this incredible injection.
Like
That's what gratitude
how
is.
you are right now at 4 o'clock in the morning. You're all energized. You're talking about gratitude at 4 o'clock in the morning. This is the result, guys. What Alon Joseph is at 4 o'clock in the morning. That's the result of true intentional gratitude. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, that's why I was willing to wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning and share it with you. And that's why I said to you,
Thank you.
I don't want to pre-record this. If I want to share gratitude, I want to share gratitude.
Yeah.
I want to be there live with people, because that's the power of it. Like, I mean, I've got a lot of energy, as you can see. I'm like this the whole day. But that's because that's the power of it. Now, I'm not saying like, I live in this bubble of like, woo, we live in such a, no, the world can be a very harsh reality. The world is not always a nice place. We go through hardships in life. But what I've learned through my own life and through my own implementation of gratitude is that gratitude gives us the skills and the ability to get through those hardships and to realize, I was saying like that quote, like you've made it through 100% of your bad days. Realize that. Let that be a motivation for you and say, wow, I did it. Praise yourself for it.
Yep.
Be grateful that you did that. It's such a powerful thing. We don't, and I don't think we spend enough time consciously actually doing that with ourselves.
Right. In the group,
I really don't.
I would mention the intention post we do every morning. In the late afternoon, we do a daily post. It's 3 things you did well today. And so it helps to reinforce these things. And it can be something small. It can be, you returned a text message. It could be took a shower. It can be went to the mailbox, whatever. But recognizing those things, like you said, being intentional about it is so important. Yeah.
Realize the good. Take that step back and just like focus on it. And you don't realize the impact it has on you.
Yeah.
It is such a huge thing. It's massive.
You really don't. The best compliment I'm sorry, you go.
No, continue.
I was just going to say the best compliment I get is when a member says that their family noticed a difference in them since joining the group. That's the best. That's the trickle down effect, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And you must.
And
get
then
that
you really say, wow. And like people go, so what's your magic pull? Like, what are you on? Share it with me. And
I'm on gratitude.
Yeah, I mean, the research, and I'll tell you what happened with us is that when we started working with gratitude, we were like, this is amazing. And 12, 13 years ago, there wasn't a lot of research on it yet. It was still relatively new, and we were hitting on this thinking like, wow. So I started researching it and saying that there must be something behind this. There's got to be, if this is so powerful, there's got to be something out there that's happening. And the more I started researching it, I started realizing like, wow, this is some seriously powerful scientific evidence to prove that gratitude is actually scientifically powerful. It's not just some airy, fairy, nice idea of like, let's all be happy and hold hands. And no, there's actually, if you understand how your mind works, this is powerful stuff.
You're right. When I started doing this, like 8 years ago, when I started working with intentional gratitude like this, there were a few studies by like Robert Emmons, but that was about it. And now they're everywhere. In fact, just maybe an hour before we went live, I read a new one by Lillian Jans Beacon, she's coming on the show in April. She's a very famous gratitude researcher. And Lillian, I apologize if I'm getting the statistics of this one wrong, but it was a study of using gratitude in relation to the pandemic and your reaction to the pandemic. And I believe it was for people with chronic conditions as well. And the results showed, and no surprise, that people that were practicing gratitude responded better physically and mentally to the pandemic. They were less likely to get it. They were, emotionally better. So these I save every one of these studies I come across in a Google Doc. It's very exciting.
No, it's massive. And that's people don't realize. We often, unless you're intentional and you're conscious of it, you don't realize the impact that it's having. Even if you just take a relationship, And you ask yourself, in a relationship or a friendship that you're in, how often are you sharing gratitude with each other about that relationship? How often are you sharing gratitude with each other about that friendship? And you've got to be intentional about it and say, well, I'm in this relationship or I've got this great friend, but I don't think I share it with them enough. I don't think, and the more intentional you become and you share it with each other every day, it builds your whole relationship. It's
Yep.
so simple and
That's
it's
a
so
good
quick.
point. It really does help your relationships as well. That's an excellent point. I just put up a question for our live viewers. How has gratitude changed your life? Feel free to type in, or how do you spread gratitude? We're here with Alon Joseph here from South Africa. It's 4 o'clock in the morning his time. He's been very kind to share with us about the power of gratitude. Getting back to the studies, I get excited when I see these studies. Not that I need them for validation, because I see it. I've seen it working for years, but it is kind of a little like, see, it's more than the woo woo to all the naysayers that used to say you can't use gratitude with chronic pain. It doesn't. It's not going to make me better. Well, no, it may not make you physically better. It has helped some of my physical symptoms, but boy, my quality of life is like nothing I've ever experienced. And 9 years ago, I was at a very deep rock bottom where I thought my life was over. It really can just shift things, and I believe you said pretty quickly, right?
That's the most. It's like this little switch in your brain,
Yeah.
because what gratitude does is that when you start focusing on the positive, your brain now starts looking for the positive. And it's just about switching that. It's just about creating that switch and saying, well, what am I choosing to focus on? And when you say, I'm focusing on gratitude intentionally, your mind starts to look for gratitude. Your mind starts to notice all the good things that's happening. If you're going to focus on the negative, that's all you're going to see. So you've got to direct your mind in what you wanted to focus on. And that's why gratitude became so powerful, because it wasn't just about the gratitude. And I know some of the comments that people had said, it's exactly like that. That what happens is that when you're choosing to focus on the positive, you start to see how many other good things you have in life as well. You
Right.
start to really look at that and say, wow, there's actually so much good in my life. I'm really, truly blessed. It might not be everything I wanted, but there's so much to be grateful for, and I'm so blessed with what I've got. And those type of thought processes start leading that positivity. And Jill said that growth mindset. It's exactly what it is.
Yep.
You start building that resilience within yourself. You start becoming. You start realizing you can achieve much more. You start pushing yourself to become more successful. And what just started off as focusing on what you're now blessed and you're grateful for having has now turned into a lifestyle of success.
It's funny, you and I talking, it almost makes it sound too good to be true, doesn't it? It sounds like we're saying it's a cure-all, and in some ways it is. I mean, it is and it isn't. But when you're using it properly, you'd be surprised at how many aspects of your life can truly change, like real, true change. Have you always been a grateful person, Alon?
No.
No?
Like I said, I think we live in a world that we're surrounded by negativity and we don't even know it.
Mm-hmm.
We don't even realize it. And
We don't. You're right.
if I look back through my own life, it's been like you've got ups and downs, and you go through good parts, and you go through challenges, and you go through hard parts, and like there's beautiful light moments, and then there's those dark moments that you go through. And there was a certain point of looking at that and saying, well, how do we help not to get rid of, like it's like the pandemic. You can't always change the reality of something, but you do have the ability of how you're going to live through it. And it was about saying to myself, what type of life do I want? What type of outlook do I want? I can't change the situation,
Right.
but I can control myself, and I can control how I'm going to live through that situation. And I think for me, that shift was a powerful mental shift. And when I had that, I started realizing just how powerful we can be as human beings. And I started researching other people on it and looking how they've done it. And then I thought to myself, well, how do we give this to other people? How do we help other people achieve that as well? Because that's really, and that's again, that's why I started focusing on gratitude, because you need something to help you. And you can't always change the reality of a situation. So I wanted something that was simple and practical to be able to make a measurable impact on people's lives. And I started realizing how gratitude was so simple, but would have a huge impact short term, but more importantly, long term. It was a powerful, sustainable source for that individual. And that's why I started focusing so much on it as well. And the more people I worked with, the more people I realized, wow, and they started sharing it with other people. And that's that ripple effect that we spoke about. And that's really the ability to change people's lives. And that's what I always say to you. You say to people, it sounds like such a quick fix.
Yeah.
And we say, it can't be that, you can't tell me that that's going to solve everything. And I say to them, you're right. So you know what I want you to do? Just start. Yeah, just start. Wake up, choose right now. And tonight before you go to sleep, or tomorrow when you wake up, do it for a couple of days and see how it goes for you. Don't take my word for it. Try it yourself. I'm not here to convince you of it. I'd love you to do that. Go out there and try it.
Right.
And as soon as you start something, people start to realize, wow, this is actually pretty good. And then they start with it, and they don't even realize how good it is for them till later down the line. They turn around and go, wow, this has actually had a huge impact on me.
Yeah.
So it's just about starting. It's just about getting that process going. Don't worry about the end game. Just focus on the here and the now. Focus on today. Focus on what you've got right now and just start.
And I think that's the key, because I think in general, I think we all think we have unlimited time, and that if I'm miserable today, who cares? I've got all this time left. We don't know when our time is up. Our time can be up in 5 minutes. We don't know that. Don't you want to enjoy the time you have? With the chronic pain community, our group is not for everybody. We're a no complaining group. You're allowed to complain at our live chats, but in the group itself, we don't, only because there are a million groups that offer that. And it is important to talk about your conditions. It's very important. You can't heal by just being happy all the time, but we wanted to offer an escape, a sanctuary for people to focus on the solution rather than staying stuck in the problem. How many times are you going to complain that you're in pain? Yes, you are in pain. I'm in pain. And it stinks, it's not fun, but I want to enjoy now. I don't know how much time I've got left. So I will work hard to make that shift and be positive. I think you have to have that willingness. If you go into it thinking it's not going to work, it's not going to work.
I don't know if you've read a book. One of the most brilliant books I've read on what you just spoke about. I mean, I love reading and I love books.
Yeah, me
and
too.
One of those, I don't know if you ever read a book called Chasing Daylight by Eugene O'Kelly.
No.
This is one
you
of
guys,
the most...
My audience knows, they know that I'm going to be going out and buying it now. What is it called? Chasing Daylight?
So listen to this. Eugene O'Kelly was the chairman and CEO of KPMG in America. Massive, massive, right? He starts off his book. Page 1, paragraph 1, line 1. He says, I was blessed. I was told I have 3 months to live. And he explains that he had 2 brain tumors the size of golf balls in his brain. And the doctor said to him, you have maximum 3 months. And it's about what he does with the time that he's got left. And the last chapter is written by his wife after he dies.
Oh my gosh.
It was such a powerful book. And he says, like that point, he says, do you know, we're all dying of a chronic illness called time. It's going to kill all of us.
So true.
No one has outlived it, right? No one has outlived it. He says, but we think we're immortal and we think we will beat it. He said, but when life says to you, I'm coming for you, right? And you know that end is coming. He says, why do we have to be told that we're going to die to start living?
There it is right there. Wow.
Right?
What is that called? Chasing Daylight?
It is one of the most brilliant, his wisdom. And he says, he says that his schedule was so busy that it was booked up 18 months in advance. That's how busy he was. He says now it was all about making the most of today. And he says the biggest thing that he says that the biggest thing that he struggled with, the hardest thing, was to live in the present. He says we're either thinking 5 minutes, 5 hours, or 5 months in the future, or 5 minutes, 5 hours, or 5 months in the past about things that have happened. He says, but very few times are we living in the actual present right now. And he says, only when you live in the present are you going to make your future even better. And it was such incredible wisdom. I mean, I read the book years ago, and it was just how, what do you do with the time that you've got? And this is what he did. He said he had to be intentional. He knew his time was limited, and he wanted to make the most of it. He said, he bought in his wallet, he carried a picture of a plot of land that him and his wife had bought, and that when he retired, they were going to build their dream home on it. He said, now it's just going to remain empty. He says, we should have built that dream home and lived in that home, but we always thought that's the future. Right. And he says the future is never guaranteed, but now is. You've only got the present. Don't wait to be told that you're going to die to start living. Start living now. And that's a powerful message.
It is. It is. Use that with you've gotten through 100% of your bad days, and you're all set. I'm gonna have to look into that book. That sounds fantastic. Jill Cook says it's a muscle. It is a tool. It will work if we use it. Absolutely. And Sandy, pain is like a heaviness that weighs life down. Gratitude is kind of like helium in a balloon. It helps me rise above the pain. Beautiful.
I love that.
She's our resident poet laureate in the group, Sandy. She posts a gratitude poem in the group every day. That's beautiful. Gratitude is kind of like helium in a balloon. Helps me rise above the pain. That's beautiful, Sandy.
Wow, I love that.
It's gorgeous.
I love that.
Yeah.
And what I love about that is that it doesn't take the pain away, right? Oh. But it just helps you become in control of that. You are that power above that, and that's what it is. The pain's still there, but you're now above it. You're able to look beyond that. It's such a powerful message.
It is, and if you're resisting the pain is a part of you, whether you like it or not. Do you want to be friends with it and come to peace with it, whether you like it or not? Or do you want to, be like this because that'll just make us tense up, cause more pain? It's difficult. It's not easy. I mean, nobody likes living with chronic pain. But it can be a gift, like that writer said. Last week when Carrie Howells was on, she told us about it's a famous athlete in Australia that just won like Australian of the Year, Dylan something. I don't know if you're aware of him. But he's in a wheelchair, I don't know, paraplegic. But she was telling us about a video, his acceptance speech for winning Australian of the Year. And he talked a lot about the stuff you were just talking about, how his disability is a gift. I posted it on my Facebook page, Lauren Zaleski, Gratitude Addict, for anybody that's interested in watching that. But you can turn things around and look at your struggles. And I think you said earlier, Alon, that you can actually become more grateful because of them. Linda loves that too. Yeah, that was beautiful.
Someone, there was I don't know if you ever watched the movie. There was a movie called The Diving Bell and the Butterfly.
Nope. Diving Bell and the Butterfly?
Yeah, it was the true story of Elle Magazine's editor. His name was Jean-Dominique Barbie, and he suffered a stroke, and his entire body was paralyzed. The only thing that he could do was move his left arm. Right? He was the editor of this massive fashion magazine. He had this massive stroke. He was paralyzed. The only thing he could move was his left arm. That was it.
Wow.
That's the only thing. And he goes through this book. He wrote an entire book about life, right, with his left arm.
Oh my gosh.
And that's his whole story. His whole story is that he could communicate, and he realized that he could blink, and he realized like 1 was yes and 2 was no. And then what he did is that they set up a computer, and he wrote his entire book about being stuck inside of himself with his left eye, because his mind was still perfect. It was just his body that was gone, right?
Oh,
and can you imagine that your mind is absolutely perfect, but you're stuck in this body that can't move?
Yeah.
And he talks about how he's living through that. And he wrote this entire book by blinking, right? By moving his eyes over letters, he wrote an entire book.
Oh my goodness. The
You know,
diving
and-
bell and the butterfly.
yeah, the
Yeah.
diving bell and the butterfly. That's his
Yeah, you
story.
have to look
And then,
up.
and
Talk
then I read
about
a
feeling grateful. I mean, you think about the pain in your body. I'd rather take the pain in my body than that. What a beautiful, that sounds gorgeous.
And I'll give you an example on the flip side of it. There was a guy who I read about a couple of years later who was in an accident and also became paralyzed, and he could also only move his eyes. He had a little bit more movement than Jean Dominic, and he decided that he wanted to end his life. And he said, life is not worth living anymore. If I cannot walk on the beach and I cannot turn a newspaper with my hands anymore, what is the purpose of me being here? Now, I'm not judging who's right and who's wrong. But what I'm saying is that you've got two people in the same situation choosing very different paths.
That's a great point.
And for me, that's what life is. Life is a reality, but you've got to choose which path you want. You've got to choose, are you going to go down the path of positivity or are you going to go down the path of negativity? That's your choice.
Right.
And you've got to, and that was the chasing daylight. Make the most of your time. Be conscious of it. Choose what you want out of life. Choose what you want to become. These are powerful things. Be conscious of them and you will be so much more successful.
You are just like a superstar gratitude spreader. You've got me so energized talking about gratitude, and I could talk to you for hours. You have such a great way of looking at things. How does it relate in your home? I assume it trickles down in your home life as well, right? Your work. No.
I hope so. I've got teenage kids. I'm not sure anything works with them.
It works for girls too. I don't know if you have girls or boys, but
I got both.
I mean, I was laughing the other day thinking, like, I've got two subsets that I'm trying to teach to be grateful: people with chronic pain and teen boys. Like, what am I?
Doesn't get any. If you can win that, it doesn't get. Then you can bring world peace. I'm telling you.
Well, not to be corny or anything, Alon, but gratitude can do that, can it? If the more we spread it, we can bring world peace. I know that's corny, but baby steps is all it takes. Your mindset will trickle to the next person, Mary says, wow, I am so grateful that you are our guest tonight. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. That's awesome. Thank you. That makes waking up 3 o'clock in the morning all worth it.
So grateful. So people can reach you at liveyourpart.com. Yes.
Yeah. And my email address or on LinkedIn, look me up, find me. Let's connect. Let's change the world together.
Yeah. I found him on LinkedIn. Oh, one quick, I know we have to go, but one quick thing I wanted to bring up with you. So in Attitude of Gratitude with Chronic Pain, we've been around for 7 years, and I can look at the demographics of the group. We're about 90, it's getting more men, but we've always been about 98% women. And we're getting more, like now I'm letting in at least a couple men every day, which makes me very happy. But then when I came to LinkedIn just a couple months ago, when I was promoting the first book, I noticed many gratitude spreader men, which makes me so happy because I was thinking, like, maybe men don't think gratitude's a real thing. What's your take on that?
So you're right. I think it's the environment and where you're looking. I mean, the people I've connected with on LinkedIn who are changing the world through gratitude has been mind-blowing.
Yeah.
I've connected with literally people all over the world, and it's been like, woohoo, this is incredible.
I know. I've snagged them all to be guests. I'm like, please come, please come.
And I think it's where you look for it, and I think it's how you promote it, and I think it's getting the word out there. I've noticed it on both sides. I've noticed that, some men are like, no, I don't need gratitude. I'm fine. Right? But they have like that. But it's not true. There are so many. As long as you're open to it, I've seen on both sides of it, and I just think it's where you're looking and how you're, and where people are finding it. But it's there, and people are doing amazing things with it. They really are. There's some amazing people in this world doing amazing things with gratitude. I'm like, Wow, you guys are just incredible.
Well, you're pointing a finger, but point it back at yourself, Alon, because you are doing amazing things. I am so inspired by the work that you do. I had never, until I met you, I had never really thought about gratitude in the workplace. It makes so much sense. And I'm sure it can't be, I'm sure it's fun, but it can't be easy. So thank you for the work you do. We're getting some thank yous here. Karen Groshoff's here. Jill Cook, thank you, our new friend. Absolutely. So, Alon Joseph, thank you so much for being here. I hope you come back sometime. We'll talk more about gratitude. We got one more here. Robin Davis, gratitude has been a saving grace for my life.
Wow.
Absolutely. Thank you, Robin. For all of you that watch live, it really means a lot each week. It brings a lot of authenticity to the episode. So thank you. For those of you watching the recording, we welcome you. Again, Alon Joseph, liveyourpart.com. And thank you so much for being here. It's fun getting my gratitude on with you for sure.
Thank you. It's such an honor. Thank you to all the people who commented and had that interaction. Thank you for this most incredible hour. I'm now ready to go start my day.
Great. Thank you so much. I will definitely talk to you soon. It's been an honor having you here. And thanks everybody. Get your gratitude on. Peace and love. I'll see you next week. Here's my new closing. Maybe. Hang on. There we go.